Um, right. It's nerve-wracking. Right. Hello. Okay. March 26th, and yeah, I'm starting as though we haven't been chatting for about 10 minutes. First thing I'm going to say is happy birthday to my niece Caitlin, 17 today, and can't go out. And that's a bit rubbish. And I doubt she'll ever watch this. It's really weird who is watching it though. Who's like, I put a thing on my Facebook just saying that I had the YouTube channel, and that if any, because obviously I have friends who are teachers, and said, if you're doing OCR, I posted some stuff. So like some ex-students, and I mean ex-students from like about 10 years ago, I've been watching them. One of Eddie's mates who lives in London has been watching them. It's really, really random, and it's very lovely. So has it all been a waste of time? God, no. If you say you'd sat the exam and something bad went wrong and you got an E, would you still think that the whole 2 years had been a waste of time? You wouldn't, would you? You know, teachers have been arguing for years that we are not exam factories, that we are here to help you literally become better people, to learn, to, you know, if you got an E, you'd move to Argentina. And for some people, getting an E, given stuff that's happened to them, especially in the last few months, would be a massive achievement. An E is still an A level, right? You can still say that you have got an A level in English literature, which we all know is one of the toughest A levels that there is, because we can't spoon feed you, and yeah, don't be like that. And you know, you've got to think on your feet in the exam. So maybe take some time today and think, you know, what have you got out of this A level, right? What have you got from having spent time with me in that classroom with your peers, your friends? Think of some of the amazing conversations that we've had, the discussions that we've had in that classroom. I guarantee you're not having in other classrooms. Yes, you've learned that 1984 is one that you don't like, Charlotte. Okay, I get it. It's like, it's now kind of law, isn't it? Charlotte has to say something disparaging about 1984. In fact, I'm going to start with Handmaid's Tale then. You're going to need pen, paper. But yeah, let's not ever think that these 2 years are only, like, you all know I did my A-level history. I got a D, right? Was that a waste of time? I'm trying to think what I can remember from doing my A-level history. No, oh, wasn't it? That was a really bad example to use. Okay, no, right, okay, I'll tell you an example I'm going to use. I'm going to go straight in there with the emotional stuff. My marriage, my first one. Did it end? Yes. Was it a waste of time? No, of course not. You know, if it wasn't for that marriage, I wouldn't have had my lovely dog. And that's what we've got to think about, right? So, I can hear John laughing. Not everything is about getting a prize at the end. Do you know, my relationship with that dog lasted longer than that marriage, and I think that's a good thing. Right, are you ready? I'm going to read you out a quotation, and we're going to get your brains warmed up. It's just my daughter apologising that she's not joining in. Here's our first one. You all got pens, so and pencil. Nicole has joined. Hello, Nicole. Right, ready? Ooh, this is a good one. I'm going to go with. This is from the first line of chapter 23. This is a reconstruction. Go. I might just mute my mic while I have a bite of bagel. You've got 2 minutes. This is a reconstruction. Anything you can think of, big ideas, little ideas, links, context, everything. Right. Well, I've had 2 bites. That was delicious. Let's go to the chat. Okay? So, hit me up with your ideas. This is a reconstruction. It's a great line, isn't it? Dead easy to learn. What have you got? Can't trust the narrator. Try to make it seem like a story, and a story has an end, so it gives you hope. Ooh, reconstructing society or herself from Robin. That's nice. What's one of the words I want you to go straight to from the first page? The word reconstruction is like palimpsest. Thank you, Maltby. Overriding the meaning. That's interesting. Overriding the meaning. Yeah. Reconstruction of the future. Adaptation. Yeah. These are good. These are good. Come on, some of you have been quiet. Get typing. Let me see it. Let me see you working. Where do you want to take it with 1984? Where do you want to take it with context? We're just going to do 3 of these, and then we're going to have a look at the stuff from Lenski, and then we'll see where we are. Reconstruction of people's mindsets. If it's a reconstruction of the past, it could be escapism. That's nice. Loss of objective truth. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Nicole's left. All right, that was good. That was good. Katie. Hello, Katie. Yeah, so Charlotte, that idea, 23, first line of chapter 23. Charlotte, that links with what we were saying yesterday, doesn't it, about Winston being the focalizer. And even though there isn't AO2, I think that's really important. We've got Offred as our first person narrator. And then we've got Winston, whose truth is literally his truth, and we don't know, do we? Okay, good one. Okay. If you're wondering why I didn't plan this in advance, it's because I'm useless. That's why. All right, let's do this one from chapter 15. So if you've got chapter 15, how's that? Let's just have a look at this opening paragraph, because I think what we sometimes do with chapter 15 is dive straight into the ceremony that comes a little bit, towards, in the next chapter. It's the build up to the ceremony. But this I'm interested in. We might want to start thinking about like territories and space. And we're still thinking about the question, which is that dystopian fiction paints a frightening picture of the future. So how could we make this talk to it? The commander knocks at the door. The knock is prescribed. So do we know what that means? The sitting room is supposed to be Serena Joy's territory. He's supposed to ask permission to enter it. She likes to keep him waiting. It's a little thing, but in this household, little things mean a lot. Tonight, however, she doesn't even get that, because before Serena Joy can speak, he steps forward into the room anyway. Maybe he's just forgotten the protocol, but maybe it's deliberate. Who knows what she said to him over the silver-encrusted dinner table? Or didn't say. Right. Okay. So a couple of minutes on that, please. I'll mute my mic again because bagel. Right, how are we doing with that? John, do you want to start us off with some ideas? Yeah, John? No? Okay, anyone want to start us off with some ideas in the chat?
Oh, I just turned my mic off and then started talking.
Oh, right. No, I turned my mic off. You
turned it on.
I could hear you typing.
Yeah. So I was typing and then I turned the mic off to talk.
Right. Any ideas?
It kind of links with like the whole idea of the knock being prescribed. He's kind of, everything's very kind of ritualistic and very strictly ordered, even down to the slightest detail. And I think that it kind of reminds me a little bit of the way things go between Winston and Catherine. Like everything's routine, and kind of the routineness of it kind of takes away from any potential connection that there could have been. And the fact that it's a little thing, but in this household, little things mean a lot, is kind of demonstrating that when you instill so much, when you restrict people that much, that you can just tweak your behavior slightly, and that can have kind of quite a profound meaning.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a really good start. Thank you, John, and some nice ideas in the chat as well. Yeah, Talia, I like that idea of government issue. I think, yeah, and I'm glad as well, Talia, you picked up on that thing about territory, because the way I was trying to make it talk to the idea of frightening pictures of the future would be to do with boundaries, with territory, with women having no control over boundaries, that everything is false. You know, the knock is prescribed, but it's all illusory, isn't it? It's just, none of it's real. As we see, the commander just flouts it anyway. Does he ignore it, or does he just think, does he forget, or does he literally just not care? Why is this a frightening picture of the future? Because obviously throughout different societies and different history, etc., you've got women who have no safe spaces whatsoever, and maybe just have the illusion of power. Some really good ideas. Yeah, nice, Katie, coming through in the chat. I've just remembered as well, I didn't upload the one from yesterday, so I'll get on with that today as well. Apologies. Right, okay. I know we only did 2 there, but we ended up being a bit longer on that one. Should we have a look at what Lenski has been writing? Again, maybe that's about the clearest we're going to get it. I see people like joining and leaving, and I don't know if it's like you're totally bored, or you've nipped to the loo, or your Wi-Fi's just kicked you off. Let's start there. Right. So this appendix, again, linking this to the frightening picture of the future, is where we're going for our ideas to do with hope. Another explanation of the appendix series is that the story of Winston Smith is a text within the world of the novel, hello Thomas, with an unidentified author, hence the solitary footnote in the first chapter, which directs the readers to the appendix. Logically, this means that all the facts have been accurately remembered, that the English language was not eliminated by 2050, and therefore that Ingsoc did not endure forever. Winston must have been wrong to think that the diary would be reduced to ashes and himself to vapour. Encoded in the appendix, dispassionate essayistic account of Newspeak is a happy ending of sorts, a crack in the monumental despair. That's a lovely bit of AO5 there, isn't there? So Lenski refers to the appendix as a crack in the monumental despair. I like that. Winston can't foresee change in our own lifetime, but he can imagine leaving a few records behind so that the next generation can carry on where we leave off. In the introduction to their 2013 stage version, which I was lucky enough to see in York, Ike and Macmillan wrote about incorporating the appendix. It daringly opens up the novel's form and reflects its central questions back to the reader. Can you trust evidence? How do you ever know what's really true? And when and where are you, the reader, right now? I think that's so important. When and where are you, the reader, right now? If I'm right, the play opens with like a business meeting, or like an academic meeting, sorry, about the appendix. So they kind of shift the appendix to the beginning of the play. John, do you know if that's right, or am
I think he does talk about something similar, in the book. I can't really remember. There's definitely, like, they dramatized the appendix in some way.
Yeah, I'm sure they open the play with the appendix.
And so that you then think for the rest of it, how much of this can I trust?
On the stage as well, they have Mr. Charrington's, so it moves between kind of three things on the stage, and you can see Mr. Charrington's room, and then in the middle is like their lives, and then I'm sure to the left is like the future with the academics. But I'm going to investigate that and make sure that I'm not just talking rubbish. So, and then finally, the most prominent advocate of the appendix theory is Margaret Atwood herself. Orwell is much more optimistic than people give him credit for. So this goes back to the dystopian aspect as well of, the contextual aspect, where people say, well, he was dying, that's why it's so pessimistic. And I'm not buying that at all. I'm with Lenski on that. She added that many dystopian novels have a framing device, like once upon a time all these horrible things happened, but now we're looking back at them from the future. So that's why Atwood puts her historical notes in. Glimmers are good. Happily ever after we don't believe anymore, but we can live with glimmers. So that's nice, isn't it? I like that. So again, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe you've got this extract in front of you. It's in the dystopian classroom. If you don't, let's make a few notes on that. Add in a bit of AO5 and AO3. Off you go. Right, did you get some good ideas for that? Oh, family situation. I hope you're all right, Abby. Okay, so let's do 2 more things today. Let's have a chat about Cursler. This is a lovely bit of AO3 that we can use. I think we've done the Darkness at Noon extract. I'm not sure. Yeah, I thought we had. So we'll do this, and then I would like to talk to you about doing an unseen passage, because some of you are a little bit stressed about it. No, not just you, Katie, at all. Actually, there's quite a few people have sent me emails about it. Right. So he'd been held in solitary confinement for 94 days. Are we all right? Okay, let's just think about those words: solitary confinement. They're very glib, aren't they? They're very easy to kind of think about and not really engage with. There are thousands of people in our country right now who are literally in solitary confinement, but they're not, are they? So Dean's at home on his own. Oops. But he's at least got the internet. You know, he's doing his lessons. He's literally just text me. That's him and Claire in our little WhatsApp office chat, talking about eggs of all things. So imagine now that you're in this lockdown, you're in this situation, and you don't have your phone, and you don't have a book. You've got nothing. It's just you and yourself for 94 days. So how long's that? 3 months? I think I'd literally be mad at the end of it. I've missed something on the chat, haven't I? What about AO3? Right, okay. It's like you've helped each other out there. So where do I want to go to on here? So he works on Cursler's experience. He himself gets arrested so that he knows what it's like to be in a prison cell. And it's this bit that I was interested in from Michael Foot. Who will ever forget the first moment he read Darkness at Noon? For socialists especially, the experience was indelible. I can recall reading it right through one night, horror-struck, overpowered, enthralled. Cursler offered a possible solution to the central riddle of the Moscow show trials. Why did so many Communist Party members sign confessions of crimes against the state and thus their death warrants? Either they were all guilty as charged, impossible, or they were broken by torture, inadequate. Or as Cursler argued, their years of unbending loyalty had dissolved their belief in objective truth. If the party required them to be guilty, then guilty they must be. As Parson wails in 1984, of course I'm guilty. You don't think the party would arrest an innocent man, do you? So when we read that bit of the book, we might be kind of a bit incredulous. Well, that wouldn't happen. Why would anyone do that? But Orwell is basing this directly on stuff that's going on around him. So this is a good bit of evidence to put in, not about a frightening vision of the future, but a frightening understanding of the present. In Oceania, there are no laws, only crimes, and no distinction between thought and deed. Hence, Winston can confess to fabricated charges of espionage, embezzlement, sabotage, murder, sexual perversion, and so on, while believing on some level that he is indeed guilty. All the confessions that are uttered here are true, says O'Brien. We make them true. So too in Soviet Russia. Under Stalin, Orwell wrote in his 1941 review of Darkness at Noon, one is imprisoned not for what one does, but for what one is, or more exactly, for what one is suspected of being. So that's terrifying, isn't it? That was happening, and still does happen in different countries at the moment. One is imprisoned for what one is suspected of being. The horror which number one emanated above all consisted in the possibility that he was in the right, writes Koestler, and that all those whom he killed had to admit, even with the bullet in the back of their necks, that he conceivably might be in the right. The Soviet official, Georgy Pyatkov, executed in 1937, said that the true Bolshevik would be ready to believe that black was white and white was black if the party required it. There was no particle left inside him which was not at one with the party, did not belong to it. There was no particle left inside him. Whew. What the bit I've just read was from Georgy Pyatkov. So it's literally in that essay, that short extract, sorry, from the book. So some really interesting ideas there to think about. I think. Anyone got any thoughts they want to share? No? Let's move the MacBook out of the way. So I want to demonstrate to you what your unseen should look like. Haven't got many in. So let's try and change that, shall we? Now, I've done this before. Right, if that's... One day I'll get the hang of this blooming camera. This is what a point is going to look like in your unseen essay. And in the born essay, for example, and there's a certain Jess Maltby on here who I'm going to ask, when everyone's handed theirs in, Jess, because you've already done yours, would you mind me sharing it with the rest of the students as an example? So a counter-argument would be that dystopias less are a frightening present. Not a counter, thank you, Jess, not a counter-argument, because I don't think because the counter-argument would kind of disagree. I think it's an additional argument. Yes, they're frightening pictures of the future, and also and the reason that they can be frightening is because for some people they're experiencing it in the present as well. Okay, so say you had a point, you've gone through, you've done your skim, scan, scour. It's a shame I can't do my Hawk impression again, isn't it? I bet some of you would really like to see that right now. You've highlighted all your important quotations, and then you're going to group them, all right? So over here, I'm going to group them, and I know that I've got quotations about identity and memory and suffering and power. Right. So then I take one and I go, right, identity. Now, it's not, we do identity in Paradise Lost, in Doll's House, you know, in your coursework. Identity comes up time and time again, doesn't it? But what we want to say is, how is identity explored as a theme in dystopian novels? What's different about it? right? And is that being confirmed in this extract, right? So we might say that in a feminist text, identity is something that is explored in a way that encourages women to discover their own female identity, sexual identity, the power that they have with being a woman. That's not what's happening in a dystopian novel, is it? Identity is something to be suppressed, to be controlled, to be manipulated. In fact, identity is discouraged unless it is prescribed, unless you are fulfilling the role that is prescribed to you by that dystopian society. And this is one of the things that both Offred and Winston struggle with. That and Offred more so because she's had different identities. She's been a mother, she's been a wife, and now she's just expected to be a handmaid. So it's that kind of thing. So first of all, right, we might want to give a brief little point about identity. What's it like in dystopian novels typically? Whoa, that made me jump. It was Emily's photograph. Sorry, the photograph of Emily. And then we're saying, did you have to do identity in that? No, I'm just using it as an example, Thomas. Just as an example. And then, so that's your AO1. And then your AO2 is all the ways in which that's done. Right? All the examples. And you'd be looking for about 3, 4 examples. You're looking for as much as you can, because if you've only got one quotation on that theme, you probably shouldn't be writing about that theme, should you? It's probably not as important as some others. So you do that and you exhaust it, and then look how much space I'm giving here to the AO3 link. And some of you have got it the wrong way around. All of this is Handmaid's Tale in 1984, and this is your bit on the extract. But this is what it's got to look like. So then you say, oh, and I know, here's my, so your AO3 is your proof, isn't it? I know that it's like that in dystopian novels because I've read them. And it's like this in 1984, The Handmaid's Tale, yada, yada, boring, boring. Where else are you going, right? How else can you explore that theme? And that's it. Now, I'm going to say this directly now to Olivia Yarrow. Olivia, I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting you to have a go. And she won't mind me saying that because she's a worry pot. Remember, first years, that we'd only really just started doing this, right? So if you're not nailing the high grades that you want on this yet, that's all right. But what we're not going to do is stop practicing them. Because if you don't practice, then you really will be rubbish when you go back, won't you? Plus, you don't want me to be bored. I need to do some marking, don't I? I just said the AO1 and AO2 is 1984. Oh, sorry, I maybe just misspoke, Katie. The AO2, all of this is the extract. The AO1 is the idea that where your argument where you're saying, I know that this theme is common to dystopias and this is how it's presented. Then all of that is where you're seeing it in the extract, right? And then your AO3 is your context. He's crying because he's just had to get out of the bath. And it's his favourite thing. On the topic of AO3, can we have an online dystopian book club? How long does this essay need to be? Honestly, I'd do it in timed conditions. Do it in 1 hour and 15. Then you won't feel like it's impinging on your time too much. And it's a realistic exploration of what you can do in timed conditions. I know it's unrealistic in that you're having to type them, and many of you won't in the exam. But it's the same as any essay. I'd be looking for between 3 and 5 key ideas, key points. Yeah. Ben, you might want to give some people in your class a nudge. I'm thinking of a certain favourite of mine who wears a hat a lot. Oh, sorry, turn that off. I just want to make sure everyone's, you know, getting on with stuff. Right, I think that might do us for today. We'll do an extract tomorrow, shall we? Go through another extract. And then what I'd like you to do, this essay on oh no, we haven't done enough on Handmaid's Tale, have we? Right, let's not do an extract tomorrow. Let's do some more stuff on Handmaid's Tale and this question. Right, okay. I'm gonna stop recording.